Thanks, Luke. Sorry, you guys, but I'm glad we can do it. Oh. And then if you can hand me the pen as fast as you can before I'm on the TV, that would be awesome because I need it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome. There we go. Now we're there. Hello and welcome to Eartheart Network News, a new kind of news connecting people, issues, and ideas from the heart. And what are we launching with that countdown there? We're launching global community, inspiring people to be Earth stewards and really live from the heart as global citizens, connecting to the world around you and really living your truth and living a life of passion and purpose. Thank you for joining me here tonight. We had a little change up in our guest lineup. We're really happy, though, to have ladies from Our Voice helping women who have survived sexual assault and are going on to rebuild their lives in the best way possible. Lots of local support for Our Voice, and we're really happy to be able to have them here tonight. Appreciate them coming on such short notice, and this way we can help promote some of the exciting, fun events. Now, I know, and I actually have seen that video. They have a video where for the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes benefit, where a bunch of local guys we know and love put high heels on and traipsed around a little bit. So it's going to be hilarious. We will show that at another time to help raise your awareness on getting out to that event coming up. So two ladies from Our Voice here today, Ohia, and our other person there, Monica. And so we'll have them on here in just a moment after Eartheart Network News. Several things we want to remind you of. We're going to have our wonderful slideshow again, Asheville's Journey America. We're so happy to be able to utilize the images of Jerry Nelson. Wonderful on the street in Asheville images he catches every week. He's pretty much at most of the local events and really brings you there. And so join the adventure. We'll have that coming up in just a moment for the week. We'll do one every week with his images that have been collected over the last week here in Asheville. So look forward to that one more time here in just a moment. Want to remind you that Richard Shulman is staging A Dream of Camelot, and there's actually a reception tomorrow night that you could participate in after the opening night show. It's going to be at the Masonic Temple, and A Dream of Camelot is a fully staged musical production, 24 original songs, and truly a transformational experience, a healing experience. It won't just be entertainment. It's going to be an unforgettable, really healing thing. So I'm looking forward to it. I will be in attendance tomorrow evening. And we wish you the best, Richard. We love Richard. And we just had him on here a couple of weeks ago with the cast members. So good luck, all the cast members there, for tomorrow night's opening of A Dream of Camelot, right there on the corner of Broadway at the beautiful Masonic Temple. So if you can make that, be sure and get there. There is shows Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So there is a matinee on Sunday if you like going out during the day on that stuff. Let's go ahead now and do the Eartheart Network Pledge. This is a pledge that we do, and it basically sums up the idea of connecting with your heart, your passion, your truth, and then really living as a global citizen. So we do this each week, and we have music by Richard Shulman backing that up. So if we can go ahead and do the Eartheart Network Pledge. I trust my heart. I know my truth. I live my passion to the fullest. I honor my connection to the world and everyone in it in the spirit of love, living our values every day. When you live that Eartheart Network Pledge, the Eartheart Pledge really, because once you connect, then it's the network because you're connecting with everyone as a global citizen. It's just up to you to listen to your heart. Once you do, you will know your truth. And then it's having the courage and the support to know it's okay to live your passion to the fullest. And then we're in a relationship, honoring our connection to the world around us. So I invite you to take that and let us know how you feel about it. Contribute ideas. If you ever want to get in touch, you can always do that here. So continuing on with our local to global news overview, just want to remind you of another event coming up on this Sunday at 11 a.m., March 13th. You can check out an Mbira performance. It's a beautiful little hand instrument. John Russo played a little of it here on one show we had, was talking about it. But there is an Mbira performance at Doberty on Lexington coming up on Sunday. It is free, and it's really uplifting music. So you may want to enjoy that out there locally. And in general, the news, you know, the poles have always shifted on Earth, but right now, recently, we've had a full 10-degree shift of the North Pole, and runways and airports around the world are looking at runway strips that were due north a full 10 degrees off. So we're getting quite a dramatic movement in our polar shift activity, quite interesting and really getting a little more accelerated than normally seen. So keep up to date on that. There are many astronomical events never before seen that are happening right now. Scientists are totally amazed at some of the stuff's going on. You don't really hear it in mainstream media, so look up some of the astronomical phenomena that's going on. It's amazing right now. Things are definitely not, they're out of the box. The universe is out of the box, and it's jumping all over the place. There's a lot going on right now with that. We're going to save up our slideshow here. I did have a few things. I don't know if you can, well, we'll do that in a second. We're trying to figure out all our order stuff, but just so you're aware, I'm sure you've heard, in Wisconsin, Republicans have gone ahead now and stripped workers of their rights to bargain in a lightning strike move that's got quite a bit of people questioning the legality of it, proper notice of it, quite questionable legitimacy, as we've seen over the last several weeks with hundreds of thousands of people all over Wisconsin supporting workers' rights. So if you need to catch up on that and have links where you can actually interact and take action, Care2 Connect is a really great site for that, and they've got all the updates. So if you need to get up to date, people are still gathering up comments and sending them to Madison. So if you'd like to offer some support there, you can do that. But we definitely wish the best for folks on keeping their rights and money they've already paid into accounts for things and their collective bargaining. And, you know, it really affects the children and the people that they touch in their lives with the jobs they do. And the quality of life in America is what we're really talking about here. And corruption in government. And so, you know, we've got all these budget cuts. We know we've got to make budget cuts, but it's wise choices that we need to make. And some of the extremes, and I think we've seen enough shady activity in the last few weeks between the prank phone call and all the wild stuff that we know it was a little bit of a sleight of hand going on with this thing that just happened. So lots of people getting on recall lists in Wisconsin and people ready to boot them out when they can, as soon as they can, basically. But we'll see how that goes. We've been talking about global food prices increasing. Well, global food prices for people living in poverty are now higher than at any time since the UN began tracking them. Costs have risen steadily for the last 7 months, and unrest in different countries, the oil getting more expensive, and all of these various connected factors really take a toll on the poorest people. Now, who's being hit the hardest? It's women. Now, this last week, we had the 100th anniversary of International Women's Day, and I was so thrilled because I actually threw myself out there and did a live broadcast on the street right in front of 10,000 villages where almost about 80% of their products are made by women for women and helping women in communities. So women need our help. In community, it does help more people when you help women because they have children and they hold the families together. And the big metaphor we saw this week was women as bridges in society. And so women stood on bridges all over the world to acknowledge standing together in support and bridging our rights and acknowledgement into this new next decade of this new century. So women standing together, we acknowledge that 100th anniversary. And also the reason I was on the street is I'm kicking off a new campaign. It's called the I Am campaign, and it's all regarding individual access to media. We've seen so much change happening around the world. People are calling it Twitter revolutions and Facebook. This connection, the ability for people to connect, communicate, and contribute is what makes such great changes possible and helps us evolve society at a much faster rate. And so the individual access to media is a critical issue. And there's local access here. This television station is local access. I live in Asheville. I can produce a show here, and so can you. So we're going to be addressing that on the street and talking to people about how aware you are of your local access media options, including right here on your TV, and what you know about making sure those resources remain available. So we are looking forward to lots of activity on that. We'll keep you up to date and see you live on the street. We'll be doing live radio broadcasts out there with Eartheart Network Radio. So just reminding you, though, about the food thing. They are kicking into gear in about 90 countries. If you have a good nonprofit you know of, you might want to check in because the food prices are the highest they've ever been right now and really affecting people in poverty. Trying to get drilling stopped from being pursued in the Arctic Wildlife Refuge again. You know, they keep hammering away at this, and the Arctic Ocean is really one of the most beautiful and formidable places on Earth. It's an absolute majestic, amazing place, and it's very fragile. It's a very fragile ecosystem, and so it's really important to protect it now. And you can find out more with the Ocean Conservancy because they're really working on letting voices be heard about keeping this majestic wilderness safe. So the Arctic does need to be stood up for. We can forget about these things, you know, when we get distracted by global events, but there are incredible places that need protecting. So check in with Ocean Conservancy and see what's going on with the Arctic Ocean right now. Another big, giant threat right now going on when we need to be making more cutting-edge changes in environmental laws and really cleaning up our environment more than ever. Basically, war is being declared in the EPA. There's all kinds of funding being taken. People are trying to make it not even allowable to regulate the greenhouse gases and other things, watering down EPA rules. Decades of work being threatened right now, and the EPA needs us to stand up, and we want the EPA to know that we stand with them in supporting strong environmental protections, standing up for the work already done, but then really implementing more very assertive environmental protection goals because we need it more than ever. And the climate change extremes that we are already facing will be mitigated by any effort we do now to clean up our environment. So it's really a critical thing. And last night at Green Drinks was really fun going to Green Drinks last night. They're at One Biltmore at Posana. Happy to be celebrating the 350th event of Green Drinks. And Joseph Malky and Ty Halleck and the whole crew, was about 80 people there. It was wonderful. And they had a nice camera set up for people to make a toast to the EPA, to let the EPA know from everyone there, from Sierra Club to MoveOn.org and lots of organizations, that we support and toast you for doing the right thing and standing up for strong environmental protection. Well, there's a lot of wild stuff. Yes, the world is in big transition, but just something to get you a little bit on the brighter side of a lot of this. We've got a BBC video to recommend. It's a Swedish academic medical doctor. He's a public speaker and statistician, and it's Hans Rosling. Okay, Google this guy. He has a story, and it's a new film of the world's development, past, present, and future. And he looks at 200 countries over 200 years. And a lot of numbers, public records, reconciling all kinds of information. And basically what he came up with is that the world that we live in is, for the most part, in a lot of ways, we're a lot more advanced than we would have imagined. So it's an uplifting film, and the gentleman is Hans Rosling. So check in on that. BBC comes out with some fantastic programming, and I always love to help pass good stuff along for that. And speaking of television and film, I saw something today, and I try to cover things that are just really meaningful and intensely, important to address right now, but this was just so neat, I had to share it with you. There is a new zero-energy, transparent television. This thing, it looks like a clear piece of glass, but it's just like a film. You put it on, and it looks 3D. It's transparent, and it uses so little energy that it can be run by solar panels that feed off of the ambient light in the room. And it's really neat. Kind of like a solar calculator, the kind of battery it's got, and it can project pictures or data onto an otherwise transparent screen, and it can be used for all kinds of applications. I mean, just to make something appear, it's almost like Star Wars, where you see the 3D hologram, but it's really clear and transparent, and you can put it anywhere on any wall. And bay windows, you could cover it with a whole beautiful scene. So a really neat new zero-energy transparent TV coming out. And thanks, Jess Zimmerman, for sharing that story. So check it out because the technology is really moving ahead with television. In natural news, just want to remind you that if you're spending time on electronic devices in the last hour before bed, which about 85% of the people do, you're actually probably disrupting sleep patterns. Now, most Americans do not get enough sleep. Chronic sleep and chronic sleep deprivation and basic stress like that it leads to overeating. It leads to all kinds of health problems. So just remember that hour or so before bed, get away from the TV, the computer, the cell phones. Don't plug in those items near your bed if they're going to charge. There's so many frequencies going on. Be aware of that. And if you'd like to improve your sleep, which basically means improve your whole quality of life, just try to do a little media fast the last few hours before bed. And I'm sure you will notice the difference because there's lots of new information backing that up right now. So one quick local story, and then we'll be on to our guest tonight from Our Voice. Just to remind you, for Asheville, there is a new book. It's called Farm Fresh Bounty in Asheville this weekend, and you can come out this weekend to support farms, farmers, and food at Farm Fresh, North Carolina. And it's an event this weekend. It's going to be the 11th and 12th on Saturday and Sunday. And it's a statewide guidebook that takes readers on a nice tour of about 425 farms. Now, I love farms. I love farms. So can you imagine this book has all the farms, produce stands, farmers markets, wineries, children-friendly places where you can go with your family. And there's going to be actually book sales at Malaprops, and they're going to be having book signings and sharing Farm Fresh Bounty of Asheville premiering this weekend. So check that out if you have a chance. And we're just going to be wrapping up the news there, and we had a few things to share. Now, if we can go ahead and go to track number 4 on where I have number 4, chapter 4 for my director over there, because I do have an image that I wanted to show. And this is Johnny Dredd. Check this guy out. He showed up. Oh, that was quick. He showed up at the table the other day when we were doing the live broadcast. I was sitting there, and it was about 2 minutes left in the show, and I thought, man, I wanted some local drummer or musician person or somebody to show up and just do some live thing, you know. And right when I thought it there, he steps right off the bus with his djembe and sat down, and it was International Women's Day, and I said, say something about women's voices being heard and honoring women. And he said, you're the best, you're everything, you make the world go round. And he said, keep us guys in check. So thank you for those wise words, Johnny Dredd, our wonderful impromptu spontaneous performer there as we were live on the street the other day. So just wanted to show him. And now back to the number 3 there on the DVD, we've got the slideshow. So as we're doing the slideshow, I will go ahead and get my guests out here. But right now I'd like to introduce Asheville's Journey America and some great images from the week right now from Jerry Nelson. So we'll check that out, and then we'll have our guests. So I'll narrate a little bit over that. And this is a really fun look at Asheville over the week. It's almost like being here. It's a lot of fun to do. You get to really be like you're on the street in Asheville. So if we can do that, that's track 3 on the DVD. We had to move things around a little bit a moment ago to get Johnny in there, but I did want to show him because he was such a great guy and stopping by. Are we ready with that slideshow? Here we go. Asheville's Journey America, presented by Eartheart Network. You know, we're all here sharing one heart, and there's our beautiful planet. I had to do the daffodils this week because we have a few daffodils coming into springtime happening now. And as we come into Asheville, we hit the streets, and there's the women on the bridge, being strong together, standing strong as bridges and community. And maybe just a little heart cloud went up when that happened, who knows. But there they are on the bridge, and Jerry doing all kinds of good images there, and women on the bridge. I love that image right there. So wonderful to do. And there is at 10,000 Villages talking about women making things for women. Then we're on to Mardi Gras Parade, and all kinds of colorful characters out there at the Mardi Gras Parade. Happy kids and people celebrating, and you know, that was the day we had those little mini snowballs flying out of the sky. And there's So True Seeds. Want to say hi to So True Seeds? Got a little springtime seed action going on. And the pink people, check these people out, right? You don't get a chance to dress like this every day. So this guy really took the most opportunity to really have fun there. Several people really having a blast out there for Mardi Gras Parade Day. You know, you can't wear those outfits all the time. This guy's got a whole heart motif, so of course I had to put him on there. Hearts are always in style here. And feeling lucky, Asheville? There you go, a little leprechaun out there. And Jerry Nelson, the man on the street, taking those pictures. Join the adventure. JourneyAmerica.org is his website. So thank you. I have my guests here. And say your names, because we didn't have a ton of time for me to get them all, but they're from Our Voice. And you are?
I'm Monica Antonazzo. I'm the volunteer coordinator for our Prevention, Education, and Outreach program.
Yes, and you're Ohio?
Yep, Ohio, and I am the outreach coordinator for Our Voice.
All right, so Our Voice is a really important way for people who have gone through, women and girls who have gone through being sexually assaulted, and there's support and help and lots of great things you can do to heal that and really refortify these young girls.
And men also.
And men,
all survivors,
right?
Primary
Everybody.
and secondary, and it's actually believed that 1 in 6 women in their lifetime will be sexually assaulted, and 1 in 33 men, and we feel that's really underreported. So we serve the whole community of survivors.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, because, you know, people forget about the stuff that happens to guys, too. And, I mean, it is a much smaller number, but it's significant, and it's important that the support is there.
And there are a lot of barriers for them for reporting and for speaking out and seeking help. So.
Yeah, and then the whole thing in our culture too, where guys aren't always allowed to really show their feelings. You know, I was just talking to a wonderful artist last night about when he was little and his grandmother died, and he was told, you are not supposed to cry. And he was 6 years old, and he loved his granny, and he never could cry, and he ended up with a hernia at 6 years old from holding in so much feelings, you know. And so it's safe to, you know, have guys evolve in their ability to be emotional, and it's really, I think, a gift too. Like, to honor women, it's the same to honor guys' emotions. You know, it's just becoming safe, and I know it's scary, you know, for a lot of guys, but that's great. Yeah, I wasn't aware. Now you have a bunch of upcoming events.
Yeah.
And we have a reminder of some of these events. If I could, whoop, oh, shoes. Do these look comfortable, guys? I don't know.
They actually really are.
These actually
They're
are
not
easy.
the worst.
These are easy. I mean,
Yeah.
you have this giant heel on the bottom. These are easy, right? It's the stilettos that really hurt. And then, you know, if you really need to go home, just click your heels together with these.
Yes.
You just might save an airplane ticket or two. And so these shoes are a symbolic reminder of a very fun event that's going to raise money to help your work. Tell me about the event.
Yeah, it's Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, and it's actually April 30th. It's toward the end of Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and it's a fundraiser for Our Voice. It's $10 to register at walkamileasheville.org, and then you can get these shoes at hip replacements for $15 or rent some from us that day for $5. But basically what happens is that we ask men in Asheville, and women and children too, we're all inclusive, to come and sort of make a spectacle of themselves and walk a mile in heels and bring light to, you know, the subject and the end of sexual violence.
Yes, and they were having so much fun because, you know, sometimes when you have such an intense issue, you know, it's a little bit of a challenge to make it a fun thing sometimes without just feeling like you're not really getting into the gravity of it. But this is a wonderful, I love it because it's really fun and silly and crazy to watch guys traipse around in heels. But then it also has that empathetic factor, you know, of what does it feel like to be someone else, and you really bring that in a really fun way. I cracked up when I saw River Gregarian, the way he was sauntering.
Doesn't he look amazing?
Sauntering.
He's a natural.
He is. It's the rhythm thing. It's that we know, you know, River's got the rhythm down, so that's, you know, it came natural to him. But, and, you know, as long as the heels aren't too high, just it's not too dangerous there.
And we appreciate him doing that with us, for sure. Those are our poster men that you saw in those videos. So those are, you'll see them on posters out in the community really soon.
So you want to name a few of those guys so we can?
Sure. Chief Hogan is one of our poster men, the police chief, and River, and who else? Marcos, who actually raised a ton of money for Our Voice last year, and they've got a trophy in their northern location on Merriman.
Yes.
And there is sort of this fun rivalry going on between them and Earth Fair and West End Bakery right now. West End and Earth Fair kind of want to take the trophy, and
So the goal is to bring a team and to represent with that team, and so they came last year with T-shirts and pizza hats, and it was pretty extraordinary.
They have such yummy pizza too. I love their place. I always have to get extra pesto and stuff because I like all the sauces. But that's fun. Now, you have some other events because I know you're really active. You guys have been doing a lot of stuff. So tell me about some of the other things you have planned for the year.
we have a ton of events, and as outreach coordinator, I sort of have them all in my head, so I'll just go on a little bit. April 8th is our art opening. It's the 11th annual Survivors Art Show, and we've had an auction in the past, but this year it's mainly focusing on survivors art, and we are having donations from folks around town. I had quite a few well-known artists from Asheville today donate. And then that's April 8th at the Artery, which is the new Asheville Area Arts Council space, which is beautiful. And we love Graham Hackett, and we are very appreciative that we get to use that space for the whole month of April.
And that will be free. In the past, we've done it as a fundraiser as well. It's been $25 or $30 to come in. But since we have Walk a Mile as such a large fundraiser now, we've kind of shifted focus, and so we'd really like to see as many people as possible out for the opening, and then it will be there throughout the month.
Oh, good.
And that night also, Jules That Dance has donated a $1,000 diamond and 74 cubic zirconias, and you can pay $20 to get a champagne glass and possibly win the $1,000 diamond from Jules That Dance. So, yeah.
Yes, certified conflict-free.
Conflict-free diamond.
That's really good.
That's important.
Thanks, Monica.
It's great.
Because it really matters, and a lot of people don't think about it. Yeah, and they're a wonderful jeweler there, and I know she's very supportive.
She's amazing.
Of a lot. I had a ring made there once, and great, beautiful work.
She is lovely. April 4th and 18th, we're going to have a countywide bartender training that's hosted by Lab, which is the Lexington Avenue Brewery. And basically, we're just asking bartenders, staff managers, and owners to come and be trained by Our Voice about drug-facilitated sexual assault and date rape drugs. And so we're just going to
that's so good
work
to train
with
the
bartenders to keep patrons
they see
safer.
Stuff, right? They see people slipping things if they do, or might witness it, or might say, we've seen somebody leave with somebody and we never saw them again, and you might want, they're aware, right? They have the pulse.
They're the front line for sure in helping to keep patrons safer. Of course, we acknowledge that there is a lot going on and that they can't watch everyone, but they certainly can help in some ways. So,
and they can help create an atmosphere that's intolerant of certain types of behaviors.
I mean, they really see stuff, and so at least with your training, we'll give them a little tools to maybe
to feel empowered
help where they can in an appropriate way, right?
Absolutely. Wednesday, April 13th, we'll have a lunch and learn at Mayheck, and I'm not exactly sure what the title and topic is of that yet, but that will be announced, of course, on our website, ourvoicenc.org. April 16th, this is a really fun one. I love it. It's the tattoo fundraiser.
Oh, I wanted to know about that.
Yeah.
So tell me.
At Forever Tattoo. Forever Tattoo is on Merriman Broadway, sort of where it changes right there.
Yes, I go by there all the time. I live in North Asheville, so I see it. Yes, on the left.
So, yeah, they're going to tattoo from noon to 6, and it's $40 tattoos for one color and then $60 tattoos for two colors, and they are donating quite a bit of that to us. And there's a teal ribbon. Teal is the color of sexual assault awareness. And then we've got this really beautiful heart with wings. And, of course, the option to get a high heel tattooed on you somewhere, which is really amazing. So,
you mean like a temporary one or a permanent?
Permanent.
Oh, it's permanent.
For a high heel thing? For like a high heel? Wow. I don't know if I would do that, but
Very meaningful. Some people, they're saying that, but there's a lot of folks out there that have tattoos.
Yeah, for people who have multiple tattoos and the tattoos have a meaning for them, a significance. It's sort of some way to represent, a commitment to a certain issue. In a way that they like.
Right, because it is a way to live, that symbology and representing a feeling, and so it's great. Yeah, I'm sort of needle phobic, so if I'm going to have a tattoo, which I have no tattoos at all, if I were, it would be such a major, serious consideration, that it would not be a high heel.
That it would probably never happen.
I totally support it.
Well, there's other ones too, obviously, but high heels are so fun. I might do that. I'm not sure.
Wow.
But I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I like the heart with wings.
Well, you're really good at coming up with fun fundraisers. You put the fun back in fundraiser, right? So that's
try.
And for
we
perfect
all
cause.
Try.
And this is Our Voice, okay? We're talking to Our Voice, and it's about helping survivors of sexual assault and abuse, and this is men and women, a great organization here locally, and lots of ways to get involved, including mentoring. Now, I know you have a mentoring thing right now. You just finished starting your new training, so I don't know if you have a new one coming up. But you have people, if you want to volunteer to help young people who have just been through a sexual assault kind of situation, and you want to help them. Tell me about your mentoring program.
Well, we have a couple different options for people who'd like to get involved. Of course, traditionally we have the volunteers who help with the crisis line. We have a crisis line that runs 24/7, and those volunteers are victim advocates. They're available to help people over the phone who need some support, or if need be, to accompany them to the hospital for a rape exam and to be there with them throughout the process. And then the program that I manage is the prevention, education, and outreach, and the volunteers that we use in that way. And that's another great way to get involved for those people who might be a little squeamish about or just don't feel that their strengths lie in that area of working directly with victims.
Right.
For us, our volunteers, we try to reach every 9th grade health class in the county. Which is quite an endeavor.
Wow.
And we do, yes, and our volunteers are wonderful. We do a 90-minute program where we talk about the laws around consent, and we really get into some scenarios that are appropriate for their age, and then move into talking about dating and communication as well. So not just, here are the laws, here's what you should do, but here's how you can communicate your boundaries and your desires so that you know, and so that you're respectful of the people that you're with. So that's one option. That training happens twice a year. The next one will be in early October. So people can sign up on the preliminary form on our website, which is ourvoicenc.org. They can also get involved. Our mentoring program is a really unique program that happens here in Asheville. It's called Climbing Toward Confidence. That also happens twice a year, starts in September. So the current one is now, they'll have their 3rd session. Oh wait, now we're in the spring. I'm mixed up with the weather. So it happens in September and then starts in February, late February. So this current one, it just got started. And we match adult female mentors with middle school girls aged 12 to 14. And together they learn to rock climb, and we find that that's a really great metaphor for learning assertiveness and learning about support and about being in a really supportive female community. And the second part of that program is the girls group, in which they discuss issues, everything from media and body image to setting boundaries and practicing those assertive communication skills. So that's open to all women. You don't have to be a climber, and there's no particular age. We like to find as diverse as a group as we can.
Right.
So we will be accepting applications for that again in the early fall.
Right. Now, the big thing about rape is that mostly it's underreported. You know, 37% of rapes are only, they assume, probably about that much, probably even less. There's probably about 75% of rapes or so that are no one ever knows. And sometimes people live with shame their whole life and go through just tons of, internal pain and trying to cope because they've never been able to share it or get the support. So, if you're out there and you have something like that that's happened, you don't have to carry the shame. And it's okay, and these people are totally not going to judge you, and they're awesome. They're just going to love you and help you. Yeah. So be brave and reach out. I was in been in some situations where I was not good at reaching out for help, and that's not anything to be proud of. You're not supposed to suffer in silence. I've been good at that a lot, and it's not a good thing to be good at. You want to really reach out, and this is a great community. There's support here. And so, I just want to encourage people that are hearing this that sort of are in denial about the fact that they could use some help, and maybe even when someone's a child, sometimes you're molested in childhood and you're really little and you don't even understand it as sort of like it's like you're not even sexual yet, and yet the same thing happens. And I know a lot of adults, they end up alcoholic, they end up having a lot of issues with drugs, and this pain of not ever being able to reconcile any of that. So, I was actually just hearing a story last night about that, of someone who's in pain right now, who's an alcoholic because they've never addressed being molested as a child, a man.
Yeah, well, we really encourage people to consider coming to counseling. Our counseling services are really quite wonderful. We have a part-time and a full-time counselor, very well qualified, and once you come in and sort of make the initial connection, we offer 16 sessions that are basically for free. one $20 administrative fee that can be spread out throughout the sessions if need be, whatever it takes. And the majority of our clients are, the counseling clients, are adults who are coping with childhood sexual abuse. We do have teenagers who are there. We do have people who've suffered a more recent experience. We also have a teen group, and then we have a really amazing group for adult survivors that is based on the work of Brene Brown on shame and recovering from shame.
Yes.
So those are really amazing things that are available to anyone who needs them.
Yes, and it's like you're getting help to let go of limitations. It may have held you back in some ways for a lot of your life.
Yeah.
And there's an opportunity. You don't have to go on that way. You can transform your life. We're always talking about when we do the pledge and we live from our heart and we trust and we have passion and purpose, that anything's possible. You can heal anything.
Yeah.
And Don Boone, who will be here in a moment with Living and Loving, he used to work with cancer patients, people who had survived cancer, and worked with their emotional outlook and how they were behaving, and the resonance, you know, what kind of feeling you're going around with, and go ahead and heal it and lift up, you know.
Well, we see people heal every day, and that's something that we really believe that you can heal. And we actually use the word survivor far more often than we use the word victim, because we believe people are surviving and healing every day. So really believing that people are getting better and providing services to guide them to that.
And I've watched not only people who come in for counseling, but people who get involved in a voluntary context, doing the education, the outreach work. I've seen that be a very transformative experience for people as well.
Right, because it's also healing them in the process,
Yeah,
right?
and just for them to feel their own power, what kind of impact they can have.
Right, and it's like sometimes we're drawn to help someone in a way that really transforms us, and we don't even know why we're drawn to it, and then all of a sudden the gift comes out and you realize, oh, we have this connection, and then serendipity happens, and so that's really wonderful. And you know, there's a lot of communities, there's no real support like this. You know, and so it's really an opportunity. We are so blessed in Asheville to have great people working on helping others, really having this web of support in community, like the Sacred Embodiment Center. We had Alyssa Maridueña on here several weeks ago, and you know, she's doing all those talks on sacred sensuality and boundaries and really embodying the sacred. And you know, learning to have good boundaries is really kind of tough in our culture. We just had what, the 50th anniversary of Barbie or something, and you know, we're kind of getting over this way too much frosting female image, you know, and you got to be young forever, and you know, all the baloney that we go with in America, and the mega billions, you know, of cosmetics industry that backs it up. But you know, women are kind of encouraged to be sort of like, you know, bimbos a lot in our culture, right?
Well, that's what we try to talk about
at Young. It's the bimbo marketing, right? And it's not the young people doing it, it's the marketing feedback loop trying to create. There's more money
creating
spent.
more young consumers.
Yeah.
And they're not even quite sure why they're doing. They don't know that they're sort of being influenced by all of these forces.
Yeah,
so we try to help them explore that, you know, stand back and think about who's trying to sell me what.
Right, and it's like you don't have to sell yourself through sex, you know, and a lot of girls are being taught, you know, well, make yourself sexually available and then that's how you get accepted, you know, but that's sort of a backward boundary zone, you know, and it's really great because you're helping to teach girls like, hey, you can have self-respect. It's not about whether they like you. We talk about that a lot. It's how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, well, help to build some critical thinking and help them to examine that and realize that they have options, that there are many ways of being a healthy woman.
Yeah, and you have value, you have intelligence, you have so much to contribute. And, you know, that's on the one side, you know, of course not on the other side where people just get violated by people that are predators, you know. And that's, you know, I think a much, you know, the much bigger chunk of the whole thing. But the cultural underpinnings here of girls having self-respect and self-image that isn't about being pencil thin or being any particular anything, but who you are authentically is a great message. And
we call it the spectrum of sexual violence, actually, and we talk about media, and we do go all the way to the other end of the spectrum with rape and molestation. And there is definitely a spectrum where there are all sorts of things included. Media pressure to be thin and look a certain way and receive catcalls and things like that. And then, of course, receiving violence, you know. So
and a lot of our prevention work that we do, we're examining it as on a whole as a culture that really accepts this kind of treatment. It accepts certain behaviors and encourages certain behaviors from boys and men through what we see in the media, but also through social pressures. And then we expect that certain things will happen, certain bad things will happen, and that allowing of it kind of perpetuates all of it. And so we try to help people, young people especially, step back and look at it as a cultural phenomenon that accepts sexual violence and think about how themselves as an individual can say, I'm not part of that.
Right, and cultivate a new self-image that isn't based on any of those external, fallacious ideas that are just really not healthy. I call it empty calorie, living, where you're just living based on stuff that doesn't really reflect your values and is actually really unhealthy.
Yeah, and you do see the case where certain universities have taken this on strongly as an issue. UNCA very much has taken this on recently, and Warren Wilson has been over the past couple of years. But how do you create a climate which encourages safety and respect, and which discourages violence? And you can change those social norms.
Right. It was a woman, Sally Lee. She's an appreciative inquiry international consultant, and that's kind of the basis we do the news. Appreciative inquiry being what gives life. Look at it from a life-giving, positive perspective, what's working. And she talked about in Mexico, a large company down there, they had problems with machismo and the whole kind of sexual harassment of women at the workplace, a very pernicious problem they were having. And they kept focusing on bringing stop violence people in, focusing on the negative part, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And finally, they did appreciative inquiry, and they brought it in, they said, what works? How can we take the spots where when people are meeting, there's the most problems are happening, and how can we show women respect, and how can we cultivate meaningful, mutually respectful relationships in the workplace? Started focusing all on the positive and respecting girls and women that were working there, and they became a model for respect in the workplace for women.
Interesting.
Top in Mexico now.
I'd like to read more about that.
Yeah, you can find out more with that. But yeah, it's exciting. So we're almost finished. I'd love to have you wrap up on anything you want to touch base on. You want to hit the event again?
Do a couple more events because we have more.
She said they've got a lot more.
There are a lot of events. Actually, we're going to do Thursday, April 28th from 7 to 9 at the Fine Arts Theater.
This is really significant. This is the first time it'll be done.
There's an event called In His Own Words, and that is male sexual assault survivors. And they speak out, and there will be an encore viewing and discussion with an audience member from the Oprah show that was titled Male Sexual Abuse Survivors Stand Together.
Wow.
So we actually had several men from Asheville who participated in that show.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
And so they'll be part of this panel.
That is so brave, for guys to come out and stand together and really help each other, because then the other guys go, well, maybe I can feel this too.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And then, of course, 2 days later, another outlet for men to battle, sexual violence, Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. I love it. It's
on the 30th.
Yeah, it's April 30th at 9 a.m. And then we'll be tabling at the Big Love Fest May 1st, so y'all can come by and get some consent is sexy buttons, or only yes means yes.
Yes, only yes means yes. That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yep.
Yeah, we try to get away from no means no. People don't have to shout, that at the top of their lungs. It's all about respect and actually asking and
it's really
being
nice
sure.
because that's a positive focus. Only yes means yes, and that's a good focus. And that's why you create more of the good stuff. So more events.
Yes.
May 2nd is the Story Slam at Magnetic Fields. Proceeds will go to Our Voice.
I read about that.
Yeah.
That sounded really fun.
Yeah.
Right? People go in, they're going to sign up, and then they're going to tell stories based on the parameters of the evening, right?
Yeah. It's sort of like the Moth. They have that on NPR.
Hour. Yeah, I love it. I love
It'll be great.
It's going to be really fun.
And so then they pool the money, and at the end, someone wins a prize, and then the rest of the money goes to Our Voice, right? So
it'll be wonderful.
Slam, Magnetic Field, and what a gorgeous venue.
I'll see you there.
I saw the pictures. I saw the pictures there the other day, and it was like, I even commented, I'm like, wow, this looks great.
I know.
It's so beautiful.
What a special place to have here in
new
Asheville.
cool place, the Magnetic Field. We got to go. Really.
One more event, Saturday and Sunday, May 7th and 8th, is Asheville Word Fest. And we are going to be doing a Together We Are Strong reading, which is our zine that Our Voice has, compiled poetry and stories from survivors, primary and secondary survivors. And so that's sort of, it's goes longer than the month of April, Sexual Assault Awareness Month. But
We got so
that's
excited.
our list
You're like,
of events. Yeah, there might be one or two more popping up out there.
And
but-
that'll all be on the website. I know people are there with their
Right.
paper, like writing down all these
Right,
events. But
ourvoicenc.org,
Yes.
right? And just like
Great.
it sounds, ourvoicenc.org.
Yep.
yeah,
And then you have a calendar of events on there. I'm sure they have, I mean, I have them on my Facebook. You can go on there and friend their thing or like it and do all the other stuff. Post and repost things. Share the hilarious video. We'll post that too because it's really
Great.
fun about the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes benefit. So I was a great surprise. You guys were such great sports. I called them at the very last minute. I had a cancellation tonight, and I was thrilled to get these ladies here because I really wasn't sure how I was going to go. But I always carry the hour, no matter what. We just go on.
Here we are.
But I'm so glad you made it.
We
and get to
appreciate the
promote.
opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad. And I get to
you.
promote your stuff, which is wonderful. And I really appreciate being here. So thank you for being on
Yeah.
Eartheart Network.
Nice to meet you.
And if you want to grab this footage and we can post it on YouTube and get this word out about the events, we'll be happy to do that.
Thank you.
And get that done.
I'm going to
Good.
leave these for you.
Oh,
Some
great,
buttons
great.
and bumper stickers.
Oh, cool. These are very
we're gonna have to take our shoes.
Really.
We do. These actually
We
belong
have
to
to say
some
bye to
guy.
the shoot. They belong to a guy, so he's got to have them back. 'cause
Well,
Yes.
they belong to the men out there now.
The men
it's like
need
the
them.
bowling
You
shoes,
can get
right?
these at hip replacements. Like I said, $15. Go there, get yourself a pair.
Wow. I mean,
Future Halloween costume
So
in
many
the making.
opportunities
Yeah.
to wear
I'm
these.
Mardi
missing
Gras.
a lot of colors of sparkly shoes. I don't even think I have all the colors, so I know that's a good deal. 15 for that much little glitter and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? That's not. This is hard.
I
Okay?
know, that's a
I
deal.
love glitter on things.
I
This
wish
is
they
hard.
sold women's shoes that cheaply. It's-
I know. This is a deal.
It really is.
Well,
Exactly.
great. Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank
We'll
you.
plaster these all over places where as many people can see them as we can.
Good.
And it was a pleasure having you here
Yes,
tonight.
thank
ladies.
you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Great. Next, our segment is living. Oh, there's Johnny Dredd again. He just had to pop back up, right? We just had to see Johnny. Keep those guys in check, he reminds us. All right, Johnny, we love you. We love you, man, wherever you are.
He's a handsome guy.
He was great. He was so sweet. So that's our pause. Yeah, go ahead. With Johnny Dredd, we're just. All right. Well, that's okay. I really don't probably. Well, we could do that. Let's go ahead and do that. All right. So, Dawn, we're going to hit. We've got Dawn Boone coming for Living and Loving, but what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and replay.
Yeah, so we launched a campaign in
Dana from
April
Dogwood
targeting
Alliance.
KFC because their paper bags, buckets, boxes, French fry containers, they're all coming from destroyed forests right here on the coast of North Carolina. And we launched a campaign in April to convince KFC to make more responsible choices, use less paper, use more recycled, and make sure that the paper that they are using doesn't come from destroyed forests.
Right, and this is regarding International Paper, which is the world's #1 paper company, and they really have been standing in the way of major advances in sustainable forestry initiatives. So let's talk about what real forestry certification is and not get duped into greenwashing. So what about that?
Yeah, so KFC recently announced a new packaging initiative in response to our campaign. And in that initiative, they are promoting their paper packaging that's coming from destroyed wetland forests on the coast of North Carolina as green because it has been certified as sustainable by International Paper, who's the world's largest paper company. So we are trying to help KFC understand that that is not sustainable and that instead they should be using paper coming from forests that have been certified to the FSC standard, which is the only certification system that is widely supported by environmental groups and that really recognizes responsible forestry.
All right, so that is Dana Smith of Dogwood Alliance, and that was at last week's Green Drinks over there at Unitarian Church, and I wanted to replay that because Dana Smith of Dogwood Alliance and her other people working with her over there have helped advance sustainable forestry practices more than any other organization in the Southeast. And I learned that the Southeast here, right in this area, is the #1 wood and paper area being sourced on the planet. Very quietly, these southern Appalachian forests are being sourced irresponsibly more than any other part of the world, the whole world. And so Dana found out that literally KFC packaging is coming right out of very rare forests. Venus flytraps, these are the mid-Atlantic coastal forests, grow wild there, coniferous, diversity unlike anywhere else on Earth. And these beautiful old-growth forests for KFC packaging. So get involved with Dogwood Alliance. They want support on this. Dogwood Alliance, I just got the note again today from Dana about this, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and replay that clip, because they really need your support. Last week, a little boy took 8,000 postcards by hand that he collected with 3 other 4th graders from Charlotte and went all the way to Louisville, Kentucky to please say to KFC, stop using these unsustainable forestry practices and save our old forests. So let your voice be heard on that issue, because Dana needs help, and she's doing a fantastic job to help our southern forests. So just wanted to do that little bit of extra support for Dogwood Alliance. And now time for Living and Loving with Dawn Boone. Do we have our graphic there and our music by Richard Ganaway? Little Dove's Reel usually comes on with that. And I don't know if it's coming, but we don't need it anyway. We're fine without it. We'll go ahead. Dawn, so glad you're here tonight.
I have the essence of my shiny head.
Yes,
that'll
the
take care of
pure
the issue.
reflection of
Yeah, well, of
luminous
course.
brilliance. Absolute brilliance, shining resplendently here with
See,
Dawn Boone.
my hair hasn't gotten wet all day.
Your hair hasn't gotten wet all day. It's very rainy, huh? It's like we're getting all this
Exactly.
spring rains,
Exactly.
and spring is just around the corner. So how are you doing with some insights on our guest today? Wasn't that
Well, I
wonderful?
loved it. The world's full of degrading experiences.
Yeah, those
That's-
opportunities are out there.
They're for all of us, and it seems that they're equal opportunity providers for everyone. The degrading experiences.
Right, it happens to everyone.
Well, sure, we can start out with the handicap.
Yeah.
That's a degrading experience. I worked with a developmental evaluation clinic for many years, and it's handicapped children. I mean, born that way is very, very degrading. Abused. We have also prisoners of war. Some of my best friends were in prison. One of my brother-in-laws imprisoned in war.
Yes.
Very degrading. We have illness. We have child molestation, and so we had up in Philadelphia, we lost like 20 priests, or about that number.
And they just kept moving them around. You know, the
I know.
darkness, right? It festered in darkness.
Transparency is the magic in this.
Yes.
Now, next to transparency is the other T. We need to illuminate the targets, then we need to help the people transcend.
Yes, transcend.
Transcendence of the past. And that you do not center your life around the past. I remember with the handicapped children, one of the most difficult things I ran into in working with families, as soon as the child was identified as handicapped, abused, whatever you would like.
Right, whatever label.
Then that label begins to be their identity and their center of life.
Right, it's like putting a chain around a tree that's growing, and you just cut into the tree and cut off the life force there.
Tremendous amount of the family, community, and personal energy goes to what's missing and what happened in the past, as opposed to what is and now.
Right, and it's so much is because often, as we've said, you know, a feeling buried alive never dies. And so if you have a deep, intense trauma, even a violent type of sexual trauma, like our ladies were speaking of a moment ago from Our Voice, you know, you may have feelings that you had to shut down during the experience. You know, part of us turns off to try to stay able to cope on some level, you know, and then we still carry the emotion. And so thank goodness for folks like Our Voice who can help you resolve some of those feelings and then be free, right? And people can be free of it.
It's the power of now.
Yes.
as opposed to walking backwards into the future.
Walking backwards into the future definitely does not work. Can't get there from here.
You can't get there from here. And our whole deal has to be around what we have and our internal essence, as opposed to what was imposed on us outside of our own ability, and has not a lot to do with who we are, except as to the degree we hold on to it.
Right, the degree we hold on is the degree to which that experience recreates that same pattern in our life, and the ability to let it go and expand into the fullness of who you truly are, whole, healed, happy, and healthier, is your option. It's really an option. But people, I think after a while, we use up so much energy holding on to hold ourselves together to cope with the stress or the pain that we get invested in those
that
patterns.
Becomes the center of our life.
Yeah, it's like I've worked hard to cope with all these problems. I can't just let them go. But that's the ultimate liberation right there, is really
to
resolving
let it go.
them. Yes, and really going into the free zone of a higher quality of life.
The most difficult thing in the world, and the reality is most people never transcend it.
Right, right. And
it continues to be the center of their life as long as they live.
Right. I've seen that, and I even was hearing a radio interview where a guy had obsessed about, another guy had molested him as a kid, and he was obsessing over it for years, and finally he resolved it, and he realized how many years he had spent just ruminating because he needed to resolve it, and if something's recurring to you and you're wondering, well, do I need to work on that issue? If it keeps popping up, if you're not obsessing mentally, but it keeps popping up, you probably need to work on it,
And remember that anger destroys the container that holds it.
Yes.
If I keep holding on to it, I haven't quite gotten my revenge yet. And what philosophically the rule is, vengeance is a luxury that few can afford.
Right, because you pay the price, right? Revenge.
Yes.
You have to stay obsessed on the yucky thing to maintain.
I can't let this go until I finish getting even.
Right.
Even if I have to mutilate me and hang the albatross around their neck.
Yeah, and we know plenty of people like that. That's a prominent pattern.
It is.
I'm going to hold on.
It's the most common pattern.
Yes, but it's not our true nature. Our true nature is actually
there are
love.
other alternatives.
Yeah,
and we can transcend that pattern and become free.
And it's as simple as internally referenced from your heart and your truth, rather than the external illusions you may be getting fed. So it's a choice. It's just a simple
the whole society will encourage you to hang on to that.
Right, because you're easier to control when you're not listening to your inner voice.
And the society tends to focus on what's missing rather than all the opportunities, both externally and internally.
Yes, and it's like we need to come to terms with the real value of our life as a living, creative adventure, instead of, well, you're not complete until you buy this, and then you'll be complete when you buy that, and so there's that external.
I won't be complete until I get even with that situation that mutilated me.
Right, right, but the way to really get more than even and get the blessing, get the diamond from the coal, is to fully forgive yourself and others, and then the blessings come, and the freedom too.
One of the friends that I grew up with was a prisoner of war in the Hanoi Hilton for over 7 years.
Oh, 7 years, wow.
And he told me, he says, I would never want to go back, but being able to transcend that and continue to be who I am was the greatest experience in my life.
Wow. So he was able to do an internal shift that allowed him to survive. I've heard that.
And transcend it.
Yes.
And says, in spite of this, I am who I am. And the rule is that we always have to be who we are in spite of, because the monsters are always out there. The degrading experiences are always out there, and will descend upon us if we cannot transcend and be who we want to be in spite of them.
Yes. And that ability to really just be yourself and do it is like right there. You're being a model for new behavior, and before you know it, you're inspiring someone else to really live an authentic life.
And they look and says, "Gee, after what all they went through, and look who they are. They transcend." And it's a very, very powerful message of modeldom rather than martyrdom.
Yay! Modeldom, not martyrdom, and everyone does it with every action. You know, when you're living your values every day, you're out there doing it. And, you know, often I think people don't even realize many times, you know, when they're doing that good modeling, you're just doing your thing and someone happens to notice. You might not even know they noticed, and then somehow you find out later. But it all makes a difference, and every thought and everything you're doing is affecting your whole life and everyone around you. So
every thought
remember,
is a prayer. And all prayers are answered.
Yes.
Be careful not to pray about things you're trying to forget.
Yes, that's that walking backwards into the future
That's
thing.
walking backwards into the future of the first order.
There you go. And that's what happens. So, well, I guess we're already down to our last minute, Dawn. We're down to our last. It's been a great pleasure. I love your wit and wisdom. We love Dawn.
Love to be
living and loving right here on Eartheart Network News. So our last minute that we will do our brief wrap up, just about a few seconds there on that. Living and Loving is a regular segment we do every week and really enjoy our time with Dawn on a regular basis.